In 17th century Japan, there lived a samurai named Yamamoto Tsunetomo, who wrote something that still haunts us today. The way of the samurai is found in death. Not literal death, but the death of the self that clings to comfort, safety, and the illusion of control. You see, while we spend our lives running from fear, the samurai ran straight into its heart. They understood something we've forgotten, that fear isn't the enemy. Fear is the guardian at the threshold of everything you've ever wanted. Fear is not only trying to protect you from danger, it's trying to protect you from growth. Every single moment in your life when you felt that tightness in your chest, that voice whispering, "What if I fail? What if they judge me? What if I'm not enough?" That wasn't your survival instinct kicking in. That was your comfort zone throwing a tantrum because you dared to dream of something bigger. The samurai had a practice of death meditation. Every morning before the sun painted the sky, they would sit in perfect stillness and visualize their own death in vivid detail. Not because they were morbid. They understood that when you've already died 1,000 times in your mind, nothing in the physical world can truly terrify you. When Steve Jobs said, "Remembering that you are going to die is the best way to avoid the trap of thinking you have something to lose," he was channeling ancient samurai wisdom without even knowing it. Imagine you had just turned down another opportunity. This time, a chance to speak at a conference in front of industry leaders. You told yourself it was because you were too busy, but the truth was sitting in your stomach like a stone. You were terrified. Terrified of being seen, of being judged, of discovering that maybe you weren't as capable as you pretended to be. That night, you couldn't sleep. You started researching samurai philosophy, desperate for anything that could help you understand why you were sabotaging your own life. That's when you discovered the story of Miyamoto Musashi, perhaps the greatest swordsman who ever lived. Musashi wasn't born fearless. As a young man, he was consumed by the same terror that grips us, the fear of inadequacy, of failure, of death itself. The turning point came when Musashi realized he was fighting the wrong enemy. All his life, he had been battling external opponents while the real enemy lived inside his own mind. The voice that told him he wasn't good enough. The anxiety that made his hands shake before a duel. This is what the samurai called the enemy within. But Musashi didn't just identify this inner enemy. He developed a strategy to defeat it. He called it the way of walking alone. This wasn't about isolation. It was about developing unshakable inner strength that your peace, your confidence, your very sense of self became independent of external circumstances. When you no longer need the world to validate your worth, you become truly dangerous, not to others, but to your own limitations. Picture this. You are walking through Central Park, watching a homeless man feed pigeons with complete serenity while business people rushed past him, faces twisted with stress. Here was a man who had lost everything society tells us we need to be happy. Yet he radiated more peace than anyone in a $1,000 suit. That's what the samurai meant by having nothing left to lose. It's about recognizing that your worth isn't tied to your possessions, your status, or even your success. The samurai had another key practice. They called it Shoshin, beginner's mind. Before every battle, every important decision, they would empty their minds of all preconceptions, all fears, all expectations of outcome. They would approach each challenge as if encountering it for the first time, with the curiosity of a child and the presence of a master. 6 months after that sleepless night, you found yourself standing on a stage in front of 300 people. Your hands weren't shaking. Your voice was steady. Not because you had conquered fear, but because you had learned to dance with it. You had practiced the samurai's morning ritual. You sat in meditation and visualized every possible way the speech could go wrong. You saw yourself forgetting your words, being laughed at, completely humiliating yourself. Then you asked yourself the question that changed everything. If all of that happened, would I still be alive tomorrow? Would I still be the same person who loves deeply, creates freely, and contributes to the world? The answer was yes, and in that yes, you found freedom. You see, fear and excitement are almost identical emotions. The only real difference is the story you tell yourself about what's happening. The samurai understood that courage isn't the absence of fear. It's the willingness to act in harmony with that fear rather than in opposition to it. That hyper-awareness becomes strategic thinking. That urge to flee becomes the momentum to leap forward. But this transformation doesn't happen overnight. It requires what the samurai called the 1,000-day practice. Showing up every single day to face your fears, especially when you don't feel like it. Every morning when I wake up, I ask myself one question. What would I do today if I were already the person I'm trying to become? And then I act as if I already am, knowing that action shapes becoming. You overcome fear by moving through it, by taking action while afraid, by speaking while your voice shakes, by reaching for your dreams while your hands tremble. Because on the other side of that fear isn't just success, it's the person you were always meant to be. 3 years later, that same email notification that once paralyzed you now feels like an invitation to adventure. Not because you're no longer afraid, but because you've learned to hear fear's message. It's not saying don't do this. It's saying pay attention, this matters. And when something matters enough to scare you, that's when you know you're moving in the right direction. The samurai left us one final gift, a reminder that your life is not a dress rehearsal. This is it. This is your one chance to discover what you're truly capable of, to leave a mark that matters, to transform not just your own life but the lives of everyone you touch. The only question that remains is this: will you spend your days running from fear, or will you finally learn to run with it toward the person you were always meant to become? If this story moved you, leave a like, share it with someone who needs it, and subscribe for more powerful lessons from history to help you live fearlessly.